Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you on the final day of the South Asia Teaching English online conference. I'm Sujata Bhosle, Senior Academic Manager for the English and School Education Program in South Asia, and I'll be the host for the first session today. We'd love to know where you're joining us from today, so please tell us in the chat. Okay, Philippines, Nepal, Pakistan, India, Pakistan, Nepal. Oh, so many from Pakistan. Fantastic. Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Oh, lots of them. Bangladesh. Yes. Thank you so much. We've been thrilled by the response we have received over the last 2 days of the conference. And we hope you will find today's sessions to be just as useful and enriching for your professional journey. Today's theme is one that continues to generate widespread discussion, particularly in the field of education. Discussion as well as debate, I should say. And it's the use of digital technologies, including artificial intelligence. AI's role in education is often seen as a double-edged sword. Is it a valuable tool or simply overhyped? And what implications does it have for English language teachers everywhere? In what areas can AI be effectively integrated into language teaching and learning? These are questions on the minds of many educators. And through today's sessions, we hope to help you explore how AI can support your classroom practice. So, our first session today is a panel discussion that explores how AI is transforming teacher development in South Asia by personalizing and enhancing professional learning for English teachers. The educators on this panel will share their experiences of using AI tools. But before we begin, and to help you get the most out of today's session, here are a few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions for the panelists, please add them to the Q&A box that you see on Zoom and in the comments section on Facebook. All participants in the live Zoom and the Facebook session will get a certificate of participation. When you complete the feedback survey link, you will find the link to download the certificate for this session. Please be polite and respectful in the comments that you share. Please ensure that you don't express opinions that may cause harm or are politically sensitive. Do not share any personal information, for example, your email addresses or links to commercial products or services. And if you wish to report any safeguarding concern, please write to safeguarding@britishcouncil.org. To moderate the panel discussion on AI today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Anju Moses. Anju is the head of British Council's English and School Education program in Sri Lanka. Anju is an academic management specialist with experience leading academic teams and programs across young learner and adult contexts. She brings expertise in training, teaching, assessment, and professional development, and is passionate about teacher education. Hi, Anju, how are you?
Hi, Sujata. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you. So where are you joining us from today, Anju?
I'm joining us from Sri Lanka. So it's really
Oh,
great to be here.
okay. That's great, Anju. Thank you so much. And I am really excited to hear this discussion. So over to you. And remember, I'm here in the background if you need anything.
Thank you so much, Sujata. And hi, everyone. It's great to see teachers and educators from around the world, especially South Asia. And I'm personally really excited to be moderating this panel today. As Sujata mentioned, it's a very timely topic. And we're looking forward to this conversation among the educators on the panel. So let me start with something that really stood out to me in a recent British Council report on AI in English language teaching. Because across the world, teachers said they don't just want more digital tools, they want real support to use them well. And they're asking questions, which I'm sure you are too. How do I actually use this in my lesson? How do I make it work for my students in my context with what I already have? And that's exactly what today's session is about. Not big picture theory, but practical, grounded examples of AI in action. And we're going to hear from educators who are already integrating artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, into their classroom practice. And not with high-end equipment or long hours, but with just probably a smartphone and a spark of creativity. So here's how we've structured the session. Each of our panelists will share a snapshot of how they're using AI, whether that's to design a lesson, support a skill, or create materials. And after that, we'll open up the conversation across the panel. And as Sujata said, we'd love for you to join in too. So do note down any reflections or questions as we go. So with that, let me introduce the brilliant panelists who'll be guiding us through this journey today. So first, we have Nahid, a TESOL educator and teacher trainer from Bangladesh with over 22 years of experience. Based at the National Academy for Educational Management, he's trained more than 20,000 teachers and developed national curricula. He's also introduced AI modules into national training programs and actively mentors educators across the region on AI integrated instruction. His work bridges AI, TESOL, and inclusive learning with research published internationally. So welcome, Nahid. We're also joined by Luna, a primary school English teacher from Assam, India, with a deep passion for digital innovation in education. Luna has co-authored ICT textbooks for middle school students, led digital integration efforts in classrooms, and recently completed her MSc in TESOL and called from the University of Stirling as a British Council scholar. So welcome, Luna.
Thank you so much.
And last but not least, we have Nuha, not to be confused with Luna, a teacher and education consultant based in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Nuha works with the British Council and lectures at Edith Cowan University. She supports both teachers and teacher educators in integrating AI into classroom practice, designing CFR-aligned assessments, adapting textbooks into interactive digital tasks, and training teachers to use tools like Canva and ChatGPT effectively in local classrooms. Welcome, Nuha.
Thank you, Anja. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we're thrilled to have this rich range of perspectives with us today. Whatever your role, I hope you'll find ideas here that speak to your context and give you something practical to try out. And don't worry, I just want to mention any tools, examples, or resources mentioned on the panel today will be shared with you at the end. So you can just sit back, listen in, and enjoy our conversation. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with Nahid. So Nahid, many teachers are already using digital tools in their classrooms, things like PowerPoint, WhatsApp, or online quizzes. But now we're hearing more about AI and generative AI, which can feel a bit overwhelming or unclear. Could you help us unpack the differences between these types of tools? And could you also share some practical ways teachers can start using AI to prepare lessons or create materials in their own context?
Thank you, Anju. Can you listen? Am I audible?
Yes, perfect.
Thanks, Anju, and your team for having me in this panel discussion. These are really good questions to begin our discussion. On some occasions, few teaching practitioners use these three terms, digital tools, AI, and generative AI synonymously. So let's see what these three tools are. To begin with, digital tools are the software and applications that are designed to perform specific tasks, often with a predefined set of functionalities. but it doesn't have independent intelligence or adaptability. Some of the examples of digital tools are PowerPoint, MS Word, Zoom, Kahoot, and PDF Reader. On the other hand, AI tool can simulate human intelligence like learning from data, recognizing pattern, making decision, and understanding language. Some of the example of AI tools are Calculator, MS Excel, Grammarly, Duolingo, Edupuzzle, Quizlet, and Quizy. Next, generative AI is the latest version of AI that create new content like text, image, and music. It can also analyze data, prompts, process information, give customized and contextualized content. Some of the example of generative AI tools are ChatGPT, as you know, and Gemini, Quillbot, Grammarly, and Socrates by Google. So now come to the question how teacher can use this AI tools specifically to prepare their lessons and create materials. You know, at present, teachers' burnout has been a concern in the teaching community. Teaching job is gradually becoming more challenging and difficult. Apart from teaching, our additional regular activities include lesson planning, preparing supplementary material, designing test and assessment, checking homework, assessing exam script, administrative work, professional development, accommodating new methods and approaches, even technology and so forth. So to reduce our workload and burnout, we can use AI tools as our teaching assistant. When AI will do some of this job, teacher can focus more on real life teaching, ensure inclusivity in the classroom, provide individual support in the classroom as well. To get the best service from generative AI tools, we need to be good at prompt engineering. Now, what is prompt engineering? A prompt is how you ask an AI tool to do something for you. The more details you include in your prompts, the better result will be. Therefore, prompt engineering is the practice of crafting precise and effective instruction to guide generative AI tool in producing the desired outputs. The better you will be prompt engineering, the better content you will receive from AI. Therefore, our prompts include the topics. So in topics, we need to give as much detail as possible so that we can have the customized information. And we need to be careful of the format. For example, the genre we are going to produce. For example, do you want to create a poem, paragraph, tongue twister, essay, and how many words do you need? 50, 200. And at the same time, we need to give some information regarding context. Who are our audience, their language level, their age, group, and also most importantly, CFR and the teaching context and socioeconomic background of the students, so that we can have the customized and also customized information from and content from that. And we can include some information regarding style. By the term style, I'd like to mean what do I want? Do I want some formal, informal, or persuasive text? Now, AI tools can do a number of jobs with regard to preparing our lessons. For example, creating materials, designing supplementary activity, and the list include many. And some of the examples are, creating rubrics, creating customized content, and language analysis, doing a grammar lesson in CLT approach. And within few minutes, we can produce this. For example, I'd like to focus some of the things that I really use although I use most of this, but some of the practice could be creating rubrics, which can be done within seconds, within a minute, right? But we should be aware of the ethical practice and need to have some more guiding principles while designing these AI tools for our class. The guiding principle could include human first. We need to prioritize human agency, creativity, and skills. We need to be careful of the privacy and the data rights, ethics, and also biasness, safety, transparency, accountability, and responsibility. Okay, over to you, Anju.
Thanks very much, Nahid. You broke down a very complex subject in a very simple way that is very relatable to us in the teaching context. And also you gave us some very good practical entry points. So thanks very much for that. So let's build on that now and shift our focus to listening and speaking. So I'm going to move to our next panelist, Nuha. Nuha, based on your experience working in secondary ESL classrooms, can you walk us through why AI can be such a helpful tool for developing these skills?
Of course, Anju. Thank you for that question. I will also share a few practical ideas teachers could try, even if all they have is a phone in their classroom. Firstly, I'll highlight 4 core reasons as to why AI is useful in developing listening and speaking. So, to begin with, AI is great to create personalized listening for different levels of learners. One of the biggest challenges I believe we face as teachers when teaching mixed ability classrooms is finding listening materials that suits everyone, right? But with AI tools, you can create audio and control other factors like speed, accent, and tone. So beginner level learners can get slow, clear versions, while advanced learners can get more natural speech in their listening audio. It's quick to set up and gives every student something they can actually access and understand. Furthermore, AI is great when you want to create customized content for specific sound-based challenges. In a lot of South Asian contexts, pronunciation challenges often come from language transfer, sounds that don't exist in learners' first language. For example, in Sri Lanka, in Sinhala, the sound that's made by the letter Z, so the sound Z, does not exist in the written language. So often we notice our learners replacing Z with S. So instead of lizard, they'd say lizard, or instead of zero, they'd say zero. And what I've understood is that AI can be really helpful when we want to address these type of pronunciation problems as well. And then AI is also great for goal-based support because you might have some students who would want to speak more fluently. Others might want to sound more natural. And AI can really help with both of these goals. For example, if you have a student preparing for a job interview, to practice responding to questions, or to get feedback on grammar, or to get more clarity and rehearse until they feel ready, AI can certainly help with that as well. So it offers targeted support that builds confidence in your learners. And you don't need any fancy equipment or devices to achieve it. AI is also interactive. It's got conversation-like input that actually mimics real communication. So instead of like scripted textbook dialogues, AI tools can let students have real-time conversations with chatbots or text-based assistants. The best part is it mimics real interaction. So students actually have to listen, think, and respond just like they would do in real life. So in my experience, AI can really help us support in listening and speaking skills in ways that are local, level appropriate, and confidence building, even if all we have is a phone. So let me share 4 simple ideas that you can try in your classroom. And just to reassure you, all of these tools I'm about to mention today can be used completely free of charge, at least at the basic level, so which is more than enough for your classroom use. So firstly, to make listening more local, relevant, and personal, I tend to use tools like 11 Labs or Canvas text-to-speech. You can type in a short paragraph or even copy-paste a paragraph across on anything that's relevant to your students. Let's say why cricket is exciting, and then use 11 Labs or Canvas text-to-speech to generate audio in different English accents. This lets you match your learners' goals, whether it's British or American English, and you can even adjust the speed for different learner levels. So it's reusable, it's personalized listening, and it can be done within a matter of minutes. Secondly, to target the tricky sounds your students might be facing, what I do is I use ChatGPT to create tongue twisters, focusing on those specific sounds my students struggle with. Like from the previous example of Z versus Sir, I would get ChatGPT to give me a tongue twister, like Zara's zoo has 6 sizzling sausages. And then I use that generated tongue twister and turn it into an audio using one of those text-to-speech tools I mentioned. So students get to listen to the audio, then they'll repeat it and even create their own tongue twister at the end of the lesson. So this way it builds more both listening discrimination and it just makes phonology into a fun game that everyone would love. Thirdly, to power student voices and incorporate relatable topics to help develop speaking skills, small groups in your classroom can create podcast style conversations. So when I do this, I use AI tools like Pi AI or even ChatGPT to help let students brainstorm ideas, check grammar, and even rehearse their lines. So relatable topics like my dream job or advice to my younger self are great topics to start off with. And even if you don't end up recording this podcast, it still gives students a clear purpose and a structured speaking task that they would most certainly enjoy. And lastly, speaking in no pressure environments and for further speaking practice, role playing with AI is a brilliant way to reduce pressure, especially for shy students. So you set a context, say ordering food at a restaurant, and use a tool like Pi AI to act as the other speaker. So you can either project AI's responses, or if you don't have a projector, you can just read AI's responses out loud while students practice replying to that. So it's very exciting because students get to talk to someone other than their teacher and their peers, and it's low stakes, it's repeatable, and it feels less intimidating than peer-to-peer speaking, especially for shy students. So to wrap it up, these AI tools aren't here to replace teachers. I noticed in one of the questions in the question box, someone asked if AI will replace teachers. Certainly not. These tools won't replace teachers, nor can it take over the effect we as teachers have in classrooms. But these tools are just here to make our lives easier and help our learners speak more confidently. And even with just a phone, we can truly create powerful, personalized speaking and listening moments in our classroom. So that's just a quick look at what's possible to achieve. Back to you, Anju.
Thank you very much, Nuha. It's good to know that we all have jobs. Um, so yeah, thanks again. Some really insightful examples of how AI can make speaking and listening more engaging and accessible. And I also noticed on the chat, everyone's kind of very keen to know what tools you were talking about. So don't worry, we will share the links to these at the end of the session. So we've got you covered in that area. So now I'm going to move to Luna. And let's turn to reading now. So Luna, in your experience, how can AI tools support reading skills development, particularly in classrooms where resources might be limited?
Thank you, Anju, for the question. I work in India and in a in a government school, and we often see that in schools like where I'm working, resources are very less and limited. We have a smartphone, maybe a tablet or a digital board, which is available for the teacher. But let us understand the classrooms in our context, in the context of our subcontinent. So mostly the classrooms are large. There are many students seated in a classroom. Or it might also happen that the teacher has to handle two classes at the same time. So in that case, it is very challenging for the teacher to manage both the classes or two or more grades at a time and to give personalized support to every student in her classroom. So in that way, I mean, like if a teacher wants to give a very personalized reading enhancement, program to all the students, then let's see how she can leverage using AI tools. So I would like to request Udani. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so first thing I would like to point out is reading tutors. So, Anju, you would be very surprised to know that our students who are not very fluent in reading, they cannot read, but with the use of tools like a reading tutor, they have done it very well. So, for very beginner level students, tools like Google Read Along, which is an open source tool, can definitely be very helpful. And there are other subscription based tools like Read with Elo, Amira Reading, and these tools can also be very helpful for a teacher. Now, why they are helpful? Because they listen to the students. When they read, it is not possible for the teacher to be physically present and listen to the student, but the AI can definitely do that. So that is why it is, I believe it is very beneficial for us. Then it can give instant feedback, and that also works very well. Then again, the tool itself can adjust the difficulty level and produce a text which is appropriate for the learner to read. So this is how it can be a very good reading tutor. Then there are AI summarizers. So it might appear that we are talking about the same tools, but please be observe that we are talking about the same tools but in different uses. So AI summarizer, I would like to point out tools like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Copilot, and the like, and Quillbot, of course. These are good summarizers. Now, why do we need a summarizer? If a student or a learner comes across a difficult piece of text and is not able to comprehend the text, then the reading is not meaningful. So in that case, the summarizing tools can be very helpful. But again, when we summarize, we should give the correct prompts so that we summarize it in a simpler way rather than making it more complex and bringing it some more unfamiliar vocabulary. Then the third point is, again, which my co-panelist Noha has very well said, text to speech. Text to speech, she has already used in listening and speaking. Now let me see how we use it in reading. So there are at times when we see the learners in our subcontinent, the students, they struggle to produce certain sound. And in order to learn those pronunciation, this speech to text can help them give a model reading. So once they listen to these, they can learn how to read and the proper intonation. So they also learn the pronunciation and the intonation. Moving on, there are tools that help us. This is again, I'm talking about generative. The other ones, the three that I have mentioned, are just AI tools. Now I'm moving on to generative AI. So, creating stories using AI. ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Copilot can easily create stories instantly, but provided we give the right prompt. Again, again, I'm going back to Nahid, who has pointed out that we should be very mindful and careful while giving prompts because we are dealing with students, and there are things that needs to be taken care of while giving prompts so that we get the right kind of text. Now, why do we need a digital, an AI-powered story when we have a house full of library where there are a lot of books. But we should understand that students in our classroom are seated who come from a digital back. I mean, like they are in the generation, they are born in the generation. They find it more interesting to read it on on a laptop, on a smartphone, or a mobile phone rather than reading a hard book or a page or a copy. So those books in the library are definitely there, but still the teacher can help and these students and motivate these students to read the generated stories using these tools. Then there are reading quizzes. So again, when there are tools that can generate quizzes, like suppose in a classroom, it again depends upon the teacher. Suppose there's a difficult piece of, text which is difficult to comprehend, the teacher may choose to uh, summarize it and make it simpler, or the teacher may use it to generate quizzes and allow the students to derive the meaning of the text. So this is another very interesting feature of AI that a teacher can use. And lastly, there are multilingual materials. So I would like to cite a very quickly a very short example. Uh, so my when I'm in a classroom and teaching English, my target is English. In the Indian subcontinent, we have lot of languages and dialects, and it is very difficult for the teacher to support every student and make every student learn. So what I did in my classroom, I there are other medium textbooks, and I used the Google Lens app to translate that and make them read in English. I do not translate the English thing to their language, rather any text that is available in other languages, that I convert instantly and using Google Lens and allow students to read it. So this is how I use it in my classroom, and that's why I say like AI can be very helpful in a classroom where it is very big and the teacher has too many classes to attend to at the same time. So it can provide the learners, it can be a good co-reader, it can be a mentor, and it can also be fluency coaches. Thank you. I hope it was a bit relevant to all the participants of our webinar today.
Thank you very much, Luna. I think it was extremely relevant because you kind of brought it home to us here in South Asia, because you related it very closely to, the fact that it is typical to have large classrooms. And as teachers, you don't always have time to give that one-to-one attention to students. And from what you were talking about, all these tools will really help free up some of the teacher time to do the more qualitative and the more complex activities that need to happen in the classroom to ensure that learning is successful and differentiated for learners. So that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Luna.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do now is move to the second part, where I'm just going to ask a few follow-up questions from my panelists before I go to the key takeaways. So I'm going to start off with actually Luna. Luna, so Nuha spoke about how we can adapt listening materials using AI tools, and you linked it very well to reading just now. So building on that idea of contextual relevance, have you explored ways to use AI tools, not only to support reading skills, but particularly for learners with special educational needs, and what's worked in your context?
Thank you, Anju. Again, this is a very relevant question. And we teachers often, we are suggested and we always advocate that our classroom should be inclusive. So while addressing to these inclusivity and trying to enhance the reading skill, then I have read articles and tried to apply those into my classrooms, even though I do not have a visually impaired child. So first, let us understand the type of diversity that might be there in a classroom. So there may be students, see, reading is a receptive skill. We receive it through our eyes, we see it, and then we read it. So if a child is visually challenged, then AI can definitely help. So there are tools like natural readers, then Microsoft Immersive Readers, and Speech Central. These are specific tools that help students with who are visually challenged to read those text and comprehend them. And there are other child who have learning issues, but they are not prominent. We cannot identify those students seated in a big classroom, but they might be having personal issues while reading, like dyslexia and ADHD. So in order to cater to these students, there are subscription-based apps, like which again I'm telling is again has to be a paid version, and you have to, I think it is not free. So the tool is Beeline Readers. Okay, it highlights only the text that the child is reading, and others are blurred. So this is another way where teacher can use. And there is a third type of uh, I mean challenge that the students might be facing, is that the student cannot hear. So if they cannot hear, they cannot produce sounds. So then it affects their reading. So I did a lot of research, but I could not find a specific tool that produced sign languages. But there are a lot many which are still under progress, and that can be right away used in the Indian subcontinent. So in coming days, hopefully we will have tools instead of speech to sign language, text to sign language will also come up very soon. Thank you, Anju. That's all from me. And I think if you are satisfied with the answer, then we can move on to the next one.
Thanks very much, Luna. So, I mean, we've identified a gap. So if anyone wants to start an app that translates text to sign language, you're hitting the right market, and there's a big market out there for you here with us teachers. So let's move on now to Nuha. So Nuha, I'd like to pick up on some of your earlier points and also what Nahid shared about lesson preparation. Have you also explored ways to adapt AI tools to support reading comprehension or vocabulary development in your classrooms or teacher training sessions? And what kinds of opportunities or even challenges have you come across?
Well, thank you, Anja, for that question. And yes, I definitely have. While my main focus today has been on listening and speaking, I definitely see a clear overlaps with vocabulary and reading, especially because these skills don't exist in isolation. For example, when I create listening tasks with AI tools like Canvas text to speech, I often pair them with simple vocabulary building activities. So students first listen to the audio and then they match keywords to pictures or definitions, or even try to guess the meaning from context before we review it together as a class. In terms of reading, as my colleague Luna mentioned, AI can help simplify texts or generate short reading passages on topics that students already heard in a listening task. So that way, they're not just practicing one skill, they're building comprehension and vocabulary through multiple channels, but with very minimal extra prep from the teacher's end, which is obviously very helpful for us. So yes, I definitely see the potential. In fact, I think one of the biggest advantages of AI is that it really helps us integrate multiple skills into lessons more easily. It allows students also to practice vocabulary, listening, speaking, and reading all within the same task. It just depends on how we choose to use it in our lessons. I hope that answered your question, Anju.
Yes, thank you, Nuha. That's a really clear and thoughtful adaptation of how we can support learners who are also at different levels and use AI as a tool and adapt it as we need based on our context. So My last follow-up question is to Nahid. So coming back to you, you started us off on this discussion. So from your perspective, Nahid, how important is it for teachers to understand the differences between digital tools, AI tools, and generative AI when designing classroom activities? And have you personally noticed any common misconceptions or risks when teachers dive into using AI without that clarity? What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Anju, and I'm glad that you have asked these questions. The difference between this type of tools need to be explored by the teacher, I believe, while or most importantly, before using these AI tools for their instructional purposes and lesson preparation. As you know, there are bewildering list of AI tools. We need to identify the strength and limitation of these tools. We should research which tools are trustworthy, and we need to learn which tools we can do, which tools can do what and how appropriately. And also we need to explore which tools can create the type of content best that I'm looking for. Generative tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek cannot produce all types of content suitably. At the same time, in many South Asian contexts, we need to consider whether it's free or paid. So we need to take this into consideration. And regarding the risk and misconception, certainly there are some. For example, we need to understand that AI is not a magic tool. It can create mistake. It can produce work with bias in it. We need to be aware of it. First, we need to consider if the content given to us by AI tools is culturally appropriate or not. Because as many of us know that actually AI cannot generate or produce content, rather they copy it from different sources. Then the content and the text produced by AI shouldn't be taken into granted, especially when we want to create any lesson content based on the factual information or do some study. We should always need to verify its authenticity, and teacher need to be trained first before jumping straight into using AI tools. We need to be good at prompt engineering in order to get some customized and contextualized content. And we also need to be aware of the potential risk that AI tools have, and we need to ensure student safety, protect the data and privacy, and also we need to prioritize learner agency and creativity and skills first. And also we need to research the strength and limitation, as I've said, of this AI tools available in the market. So thank you. Over to you, Anju.
Thanks so much, Nahid. That was a really good reflection on obviously both the potential and the pitfalls of AI using classrooms. And I think you highlighted the fact that training and support for teachers is really, really important. So now before we move on to the Q&A section with our wonderful audience, I'd like to sum up our conversation so far and highlight some of the key takeaways. So one of the things we've got feedback on is, teachers need practical time-saving tools to help them plan lessons and adapt materials. And Nahid just talked to us about how AI can do just that, from understanding the difference between digital AI and generative AI tools, to using them to create inclusive text, quizzes, and interactive tasks. So Nahid also talked about how teachers can design more tailored, engaging lessons, even with limited time or resources, because AI really can help free up your thinking time, which is really valuable in this day and age with everything that's going on. And then moving on to what Nuha spoke about for listening and speaking, especially in secondary classrooms, AI opens up a lot of creative possibilities. So I remember in the good old days, we would record ourselves and produce an authentic listening on a tape, if some of you are as old as me and remember tape players. But now you can do it in seconds using AI. So teachers can generate level appropriate audio, design pronunciation practice, and create space for learners to build confidence with real-world speaking tasks, all in a low pressure and supportive way. And that's really important. And research has shown that having a low pressure and supportive environment helps learners feel more motivated and supported in general. And of course, lastly, Luna, in her part, told us about how in reading, AI can make a real difference where resources are limited. And I know nowadays teachers and parents are struggling, saying, you know, our kids are not reading anymore. So now we have some fantastic ideas to try out with our students. So we have from personalized reading tutors, auto-generated quizzes, summarization tools, multilingual text to speech, and teachers can really build learners' confidence and give access to more resources through this. So technically, when used thoughtfully, AI actually does support equity. It helps all learners move forward in their own way, no matter what their starting point is. And that's, I think, something that's really, really important to take away from today's conversation. And of course, we can't talk about AI and not talk about the ethical and safe use of AI. And Nahid, I think, highlighted this in many different ways in his part. So before obviously using any AI tools, we need to really think about, is it relevant for the people, the learners, the parents, the school communities who are using this tool? And as Nahid also mentioned, AI has biases, as do all of us. So we need to use it as an opportunity to create awareness around that. We need to encourage students also how to take care of themselves. Don't share personally identifiable data. And some tools may collect data and may have age restrictions. So for example, ChatGPT requires the children under ages 13 to 18, ages 13 to 18 obtain parental consent before using it. So find out what you can about each tool before using it. And of course, be aware that AI generated content may include bias or factual inaccuracies. So always check outputs before using them in class. So this is just a gentle reminder that whatever we do, the human element is very important. So here are the links to the tools that our panelists shared with us. And as promised, it's on the slide. And I think this will be shared in the chat as well by Udani. So thank you very much. I will move on to some questions that we've received in the chat and on Facebook. But I guess we will not have time to go through all the questions, even though we'd really love to. But I'll try to pick up some of the common themes that we've got. Right. So I guess this is probably a question. I'll start off with Nahed. It's from Nima, where she's talked about AI is still dependent on the one giving the prompt, and sometimes it gives the wrong answer. So we still require human touch and intelligence. So Nahid, from your perspective, could you give us one tip that will help us move in the right direction on this one?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, as I've shared with you, the content that is produced by AI shouldn't be taken into granted. Rather, we need to verify it. So especially there might be risk when we are trying to use some factual information in the classroom. So we need to check whether this is authentic or not. We need to check the source. And even when actually AI tools put the information, it's written that AI can make mistake. So you need to be aware of it. You need to check this. So I think it's a good idea to check the information before using it with the student, especially the factual information. For example, if you use AI tool for creating rubrics, so it's not factual information. You need to verify it. Rather, you need to check whether this is customized. What other things you need to include, but it shouldn't be taken into granted, as I've said. So, thank you.
Thanks very much, Nahid. My next question that I've got here, I'm going to address it to Luna. So this is from Mariam, Luna. The question is, by adapting reading through AI tools instead of libraries, doesn't that make students turn away from book reading as they use screens at school now, as well as at home, as well as in classrooms? What are your thoughts on this, Luna?
Yes, that is a very valid concern. We do feel if we take the students away from libraries and put them into the screen reading practice, then it might happen that we are not on the right track. And it is kind of a sort of like counseling. Like when we make the student understand that this is also a resource which we can always feel it, read it while reading, but this is a digital one, and that will give you a different feel. And reading a book will definitely give you a different feel than the teacher or the parent. Okay, it might be a parent who has observed the same thing with her child, or anyone relative, or any learner, I would say. Then the person can explain like how it feels like reading a book, and how it used to be when we used to read books and digital tools were not there, and this has evolved. Okay, and there may be more evolutions in coming days, but we should always be with all the kind of text available. We should not feel like these are useless and this cannot help. It is never that way. And based on the student's interest, the teacher should identify uh, such text which are available in hard copies like library, and bring it to the student, then give it a personal experience to the child, so that the students get the taste. I mean, it feels that it is also the same as reading from a screen or on a screen. So that's how I believe uh, it might help.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Luna. That's really that was a really good answer. My next question that I've got here is from Aisha, and it's from Facebook. So Aisha said, today there are a number of gadgets. Actually, I'm gonna queue up Nuha to answer this question. There are a number of gadgets which distract students. So how can we make students concentrate? And as studies are done through modern tools, this may divert students' attention away from what's important. What are your thoughts, Nuha, on this?
That's a very relatable concern. I think without any age restriction, technology in general can be a distraction to us, um, especially to our students as well. So I think it's important to understand that we must strike a balance, because AI is clearly here to stay. So it's not something we can completely ignore or cut out of the picture. So think about ways where we could incorporate technology, AI in this matter, and let our students know that, this chunk of our lesson is dedicated for incorporating technology into our learning process. And then when we move on from that stage, it's time for us to actually engage in whatever hard copies we're being given with. Even in terms of creating, even in terms of lessons, uh, don't see AI as a threat. Instead, I think it's our responsibility as teachers to teach our students to use it as a tool, to use it as a helpful tool. So try to incorporate AI into a stage of your lesson where they must plan something. So, brainstorming ideas or clarifying grammatical mistakes, so that they're still given the opportunity to use technology, but they're not overly reliant, nor is technology taking over their entire thought process. So the end product, they are still in charge of it, and they are expected to produce it themselves. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Nuha. Yes. So I'm going to ask my next question from Nahid. From an assessment perspective, Hafsa has asked, do you think making students dependent on AI tools can affect assessment?
I'm
Nahid,
not
would-
sure. I mean, what the audience need to answer with. I mean, does he want to know whether we need to use it for creating assessment, or we need to actually involve the student and taking the assessment on AI
Yeah.
tools?
So let
So-
me try
yeah,
rephrasing
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
it's more like, how much do you think a student may become dependent on AI tools, and will that affect them becoming a completely independent learner from the point of view of assessment?
Say, I mean, a teacher can use it first of all to actually create some assessment that is appropriate for the learners, and at the same time, student also can take some assessment on the Quizlet and on other digital platform. But we need to actually understand that this present generation are regarded as, I mean, digital native, where we are actually considered as digital immigrants. So actually making them stay away from these digital tools shouldn't be a good idea. It has some benefits. So, but we need to be aware of the potential risk, and also we shouldn't actually make them more dependent on the machine assessment. And teachers should be aware of this because machine can't actually predict all the. I can't read our human emotion, and also there's some lackings with I mean with this online tools, I've said.
Thanks very much, Nahid. I think I've got 1 more minute. So I'm going to throw a question to Luna and Nuha. There are some questions in the chat about grammar. So Luna and Nuha, do you have any like AI tool that you use specifically for teaching grammar?
I would like to take first.
Yes, please.
If that's okay with Nuha. Okay. So I do not particularly use a tool, but there is Grammarly always there that checks when we write, and there is Quillbot. So these two tools are definitely there. But again, there are many questions where I have seen like, will AI be a threat to the intelligence? So that is really a concern. We don't believe that AI would be a threat to the intelligence. Rather, it will foster because we will have to be very intelligent to give good prompts. So definitely, it will not take away our intelligence. And once you give good prompts, only then you can come up, the result or the desired generative AI product will be good.
Thank you. Nuha, anything from you?
Well, I was also thinking of the platforms Luna mentioned, which are very accessible
Yes.
and freely available. And they're also inbuilt. So if you install them into your class computer, your students will always be visually notified of like grammar mistakes they made while they write.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who shared questions and to our brilliant panelists for such thoughtful responses. And it's clear that while AI isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, it can be a powerful support when used purposefully. And of course, with the teacher's voice and context at the center, and that's you all here on the session today. So we'll be sharing the resources mentioned. I think Udani's already shared it in the chat. And thanks again for joining us. And most of all, thank you for the work you do every day in classrooms. So finally, over to you, Sujatha.
Thank you so much, Anju, and thank you so much to our panelists, to Nuha, Luna, Nahid. It was so interesting to hear your experiences, like, in your countries about that you're already using these tools in your classrooms and the way you're using them and the context in which you're using, which I believe many in the audience today have been able to relate to. And what was interesting for me in this discussion was, and also by looking at the chat, that there are many who actually do know about these tools. But what you have shared is actually more specifics. And that's why many of them are, talking about, please share these tools so that, they could try this out. And in fact, I've learned so much listening to this conversation, that there are so many things, especially the reading tasks that Luna talked about, or Nuha, explained it so clearly and nicely about the listening and speaking. That was fantastic. Lot of learning and lot of takeaways for me, and I hope even the audience learned more about how AI can support their teaching practice. I'm going to share the feedback link now. It is also shared in the chat. And please remember, we have 2 more sessions where you can find out even more about how AI can enhance English language teaching and learning. But that's our next session with Joe Dale. And do not forget, there's also another one, using AI to support large, diverse, and low-resource classrooms. That's Catherine Riley's session coming up in an hour and a half, but in half an hour, please do join us for the session on enhancing English teaching and learning with Joe Dale. Please use the same Zoom link to join us for this session. See you all in 30 minutes. Thank you all and have a wonderful afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you.